Hey guys, this is Benny.
And this is Dhruv. And today we are going to review the trailer of the Nigerian movie called October 1. And it's already on Netflix. This is actually a little older movie. It's from 2014. And if I read the synopsis on IMDb, it says in 1960, a Nigerian police detective is dispatched to investigate the murders of women in a small community. The director is Kunle Afolayan, producer is Kunle Afolayan, and it stars Sadiq Daba and Kayode Olaiya, Kehinde Bankole. Kunle Afolayan himself is playing a character in this, and a bunch of other very good actors. Kunle Afolayan is, if you remember, Kayode Kassim talked about him. His film, The Figurine, inspired Kayode to become a director.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, that's so cool.
From the bottom of my heart, I congratulate our entire people of Nigeria.
Happy independence!
My educated opinion tells me independence has arrived 10 years too early.
There's been a murder. In fact, two. Akote.
Okay. We found another body.
We are dealing with premeditated murder in the first degree. I'm imposing an 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew on Akote. Mount police checkpoint to every entry into Akote. Question everyone. Find out anything unusual, and if by chance you come into contact with the killer, you must blow your whistle. He will keep on killing until his thirst for blood is quenched. We have to smoke him out from wherever he receives sanctuary.
Who is that?
Summon the palace guard, sir.
Apprehend him! Summon him! Drill! Can't you see me?
Da na gani a cikin daji, fitan da na je na yi. God save the queen.
That is why I want a little more time.
Unnecessary. Transfer him to a Godi prison in Ibadan tomorrow. They'll take it from there.
But that is not right.
How dare you!
How dare you, sir? Is the case in Enugu not bad enough?
This is a movie that I'm really looking forward to watching. Actually,
Yes.
This is like a clash between cultures. Of course, the Britishers, they were the intruders, you can say, and they would not have understood what the regional customs are, what the traditions are, and it would lead to, I mean, they wouldn't have bothered either. If anyone would have bothered, it would have been individual persons among the Britishers too, right? Evidently, I mean, if you are the rulers, you try to rule according to your systems, to your laws, but in a different culture, it doesn't always stand true. It is not always justified. Now, maybe these were murders, yes, but maybe in the tribe that this was happening, maybe it was a custom or something. Of course, a murder is a murder. It is not justified, but still, we don't know exactly what is happening. Of course, there are murders happening. It is only women, and you see one person saying, "I did what a man should do." So maybe it is against women, maybe it is a dominion by men to be imposed upon women or something. But there is something, a reference to an oracle, right? And of course, we know that in ancient traditions, oracles were taken very seriously. And if somebody got a notion that I have been commanded to do something by an oracle, I have to do it. It is my religious duty to go and fulfill that. Now, whatever the oracle might have said and whatever you might have interpreted it to be, of course, because the oracles sayings are always up to interpretation. But we also see that this person is kind of pleading to the British officer that we need to look into this or something. And that fellow says, no, you transfer it in tomorrow morning to the other prison, and he gets annoyed. So evidently here there is a misunderstanding between cultures. This is really interesting. I am intrigued.
Yeah, it also looks so well made. It's 2014. This was many years ago. And one of the cool things I really want to point out is the release date was also October 1st. So that was very, very cool. Yeah, that's what it's releasing on October 1st. But there's a bunch of things. This movie, especially of all the things we have seen, this really hits home because this is so their own history, their own cultures, problems that they faced is so much like India because the British ruled India as well. And these kind of things used to happen in India all the time. We have so many movies based on that because it's so nuanced and it's so similar to how Indian problems were back in the day when we didn't have independence. This is multi-layered. There's so many layers. There's culture. Also, being an officer under the rule of some other officer who doesn't understand your culture and your nuances and doesn't know the region probably as well as you do. And working along those circumstances is another thing. And then there could be a factor of patriarchy or there could be a factor of an inside job for certain gains. Maybe someone wanted to gain something from within the department and they were making this happen. And there is this whole wild goose chase that goes around the culture that way you get to know through the movie what the culture of the region is and it comes back home to an inside job. That could be a thing too. Like we do not know. It's a really, really intriguing movie, very exciting. It reminds me of that movie with Ayushmann Khurrana. I forget what the name was. He was
Article 15. Article 15?
Yes. So this kind of reminded me of that, but obviously this movie is way older than that movie, but it could be anything, basically. Anyone could have done it. Yes, you go through the movie to see that someone's talking about an oracle, someone's talking about something else, I had to do it. Also, it's an interesting case that it only targets women. We do not know if there was a scenario of sexual assault. Maybe they were just murders. That would also be interesting to know. And I'm glad that they didn't tell you in the trailer because the meaning of it changes, I feel.
Yeah.
That it's a sexual assault. It's a wider range of suspects. Anybody could have done it. But if it's just murders, why? Why would someone do it? Is it religious? Is it political? Is it something else? You know, we also saw a movie with Vidya Balan. I don't know if you saw it, but it's called Sherni. Amazing movie, by the way, very underrated. She was a park ranger who was trying to protect tigers. And it's a movie about tiger protection, but it's also a movie about all these different things. It's the locals, it's the political party, it's the police officers, it's the park rangers itself, and how those forces come together. How they don't come together, but they play in such a way that really decides the fate of the conservation park or the tigers in it. And it's such a complex problem to solve because there are all these different variables. And I think this police officer is also facing that there's so many complex variables. There are these villagers who are probably have different beliefs. There's these officers who don't understand the laws of the region or understand the region. There's his own conflict. He's trying to solve a problem, but he can't focus on it. You know, I think he's the main character and there are other characters, but I think the story is told from his eyes and how complex that problem is. that even though he can make good strides in it, he cannot. That also takes to the hierarchical problem of police officers, where we have seen in many Indian movies as well, that a police officer really wants to do something, but because other officers are like, they are not into so there's two kinds of people, those who want to problem solve and those that are political. And that's the clash too. It's a clash of personas where a problem solver really wants to solve the problem and gets obsessed with it sometimes. And then the person above them is like, just leave it. In a way, it's kind of like a scientist who really wants to solve the problem and they can't. You just can't let it go. And that's why you see, I presume that's why he had an outburst with that white police officer, even though you're not allowed to talk to the rulers of that area that way. I think his frustration must have surpassed to that extent that he just couldn't help it but react that way.
One thing I need to speak about is how the movie is made as if it is, the look of the movie is not the HD kind of thing. It shows an olden era. It begins with a black and white clipping, but then again, if I'm not wrong, it's a whole kind of a 70s type of aura to it. It is 2014, but it doesn't even look like 2014. It looks older. So it's supposed to show an old story, and it is looking like an old story. That's what I really loved about it. Right. Another thing I want to say is that this one reminds me of the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy. Do you remember that movie? There was this bushman and he was put in prison, and the white guy, he had a bit of idea about how the Bushmen, they can't survive in closed walls. They've never seen a wall before. He was imprisoned for killing an antelope or something, and that was illegal. And for the Bushman, it was his right because he lives on nature. So the Bushman, he kills an antelope, but he gets sent to prison for that. And 3 days in the prison, he was just staring at that square window where he could see the sky, because everything else was walls, and he had never seen a wall in his life before. So in the end, they get a parole that let us take him with us because he is a scientist, he knows about flora and fauna, and so we need him. They kind of find a way, a loophole to take him out of the jail and something. But this one reminds me of that, how different cultures, your crime isn't their crime. It's not the same thing. It's completely two different things, right? And also one thing is that, yes, as you said, often we find that police officers and people in whichever field, sometimes one person is trying so hard to find a solution, to do the right thing, to find out what is to be found out, but the system weighs that person down. But still, one person who is persistent enough can make a change and can change things forever, actually. Yes, it is tough for that person, and yes, it can make that one person's life miserable, but a single person does have the capability to change things for lots of people.
With lots of possible losses in life. If you have seen the new movie Dhamaka with Karthik, see, he tried to do the right thing, and that bit him in the back, basically. I mean, so a person who might not choose to do the right thing, also you have to understand what their thought process might be, that the system might bite them in the back. But this movie is so layered. There's cultural layer, as we said, but there's also the thriller layer. Who's the killer? Why are they doing this? It's a combination of all different forces. It's a combination of understanding the culture. It's a combination of entertainment. It's a combination of history and anthropology and whatnot. And maybe even supernatural, because they could talk about the oracle. So maybe that aspect. Like, it's a brilliant idea, and I'm sure it will be a brilliant movie. Just we have to see it to decide it. But from the trailer, it looks like it's going to be brilliant. And we have heard a lot about this director. So I really actually want to check this movie out.
Yes, I'm definitely watching this one. And I can see Kayode Kasum's inspiration is well placed.
All right, guys. So if you liked our video, then please subscribe to our channel and also hit that bell icon so that you're notified every time we upload a new video. We usually do that on Mondays. Also like our video if you liked it, and leave us a comment to let us know how we're doing, or if there are any other suggestions you might have for us to review. I mean, it could be movie trailers, it could be movie watches, which might take some time, or it could be someone we can talk to. You know, we're open to suggestions. Until next time, फिर मिलेंगे.